Wait a minute. Hear this.
Birdie num num. Birdie num num. Birdie num num.
What's up, ladies and gents, and welcome back to another episode of the Birdy Num Num podcast. Sanjay Manaktala here, having a good week, and I really hope you all are having a wonderful week. And today on the podcast, this week, because we have a nice open dialogue, you and I, every week, my third week in a row after being back, so let's keep the momentum going, the Momo. And I want to talk about something a little bit different from what I've usually been talking about, but I know a lot of people ask, I'm married now, but ask me if I'm married. I'm saying like a lot of people have responded well to a lot of the dating podcasts that I've done, dating in India, dating in your career. So I thought I would put together after a while an episode on kind of like first dating tips, first dating etiquette. Kind of just general advice regarding your first date. Because while I don't think I'm some like savant, I do know that there are a lot of things that I'm sure a lot of my listeners may have, made mistakes for, or maybe if you're recently single or you just are single, these are things that I see people kind of doing incorrectly, whether I'm sitting at a restaurant far away observing, or I hear from friends, or through the grapevine, or stuff that we see on pop culture, social media that just seems like, no, that's not going to work. So number one, first dating tip for 2022 and basically anything, be proud of what you do. Okay. I think a lot of times I know a lot of times I've been at Starbucks and I've kind of seen somebody on like a Tinder date. You always know, right? Because the way they kind of like, hey, Jennifer, oh, hey, Samir, like it's very awkward, right? I don't know why Jennifer and Samir are the names I picked, but I've seen a lot of guys, like girls are like, so what do you do? And they're genuinely excited because guys, remember, she is there because she agreed based on whatever was in your bio or your photo that you are interesting enough to kind of warrant, this coffee date or bar date or whatever it is. And then guys will just be like, oh yeah, I just do some, boring IT stuff or boring finance stuff or startup. Yeah, I'm broke or whatever. Guys, if you're not excited about your life, how do you expect anybody else to be? And more importantly, how can anyone build attraction to you if you just seem kind of mopey and depressed, right? I was watching that Deepika Padukone movie where, on Amazon Prime, where forgot the name of it, but it was like Garayang. My wife always makes fun of me because I pronounce it so badly. But it started off a bit too quickly where she just started cheating on her dude, but it got kind of better as it went on. But I did notice, the guy that she was with, that she kind of lost her attraction to, he was very mopey and not proud of what he does. And, we all have boring jobs. We all have things that may not seem exciting on paper. And usually that's 99% of people. Okay. So don't feel bad that you're not some, creative entrepreneur, or you're not something a bit more, off the grill. That's completely fine, dude. Like people, sorry, my stomach just growled. People like, they think that they need to have some crazy unique story. You need to definitely be interesting and have hobbies. But if you are like, just say, I don't want to talk about my work, I hate my work. Well, that says that you also are doing something that maybe is kind of a waste of time. Or if you think about, where you spend 10 hours of your life every day, half your life every day, doing something, then that really is off-putting to the other person. And then you lose kind of things to talk about. Whereas even if you have a boring job, but you're like, oh yeah, I'm a database designer at, Flipkart, and I help with the e-commerce end, and occasionally I do the marketing analytics. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I really like it. The career options are good and it's what I wanted to do. Obviously, eventually I may want to start something on my own, but this is stable and it gives me kind of, good experience. Then that's awesome, dude. People like, I remember watching a war movie and they were saying like, he only promotes, this was like in the 50s, but he's like, I only promote married men because if you're a married guy, it proves to me that, somebody else can tolerate you and you can handle responsibility and da-da-da. But more importantly, if you at least have a positive outlook on where you spend half your life, that at a very basic is, something, at least one solid pillar of attraction that somebody would find in you. But if you don't, then it's kind of very aimless and undesirable. My personal opinion, at the very least, even if you hate your job, don't share that with the person on the first date. Okay. Second thing I want to talk about is this happens all the time. I am guilty of this. You finally get that match, or you finally get her to respond to your message, or him, or whatever. And then you guys, it's like, okay, they finally agree to meet you. It's like, well, where do you want to go? And you're like, oh, I don't know. Where do you want to go? And then you spend like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or you spend more time trying to pick a plan than actually getting the plan approved, right? And for most people, it's just, gentlemen, like if she's agreeing to meet you, you could meet at a freaking 2-star, hopefully not a 2-star restaurant, but you can meet anywhere because most places, you don't have to like go to like the fanciest place or be like, oh, do you like Chinese? Do you like Japanese? Do you like, Italian, Indian? Like what? Please don't do Indian food for your first date, by the way. It's way too heavy. I don't think that's a good idea for anyone. But try to at least be decisive. Again, being decisive is nice. Don't be like selfish or don't be unresponsive to suggestions. But women usually like a guy who is in control, like to a point. But that kind of decisiveness and that kind of go-getter attitude is like most of the times you'll see if you just say, hey, why don't we meet at this cool new Mexican restaurant that just opened up? Apparently they have nice drinks and they have nice coffees. You could be like, yeah, perfect. That sounds good. And if she's like, oh, I don't really like Mexican or I'm vegan or this, that, be like, all right, there's another Chinese place that's really nice and they have good veggie options. And if she still says that, then you can, say, all right, well, where do you want to go? But in most cases, you just throwing out these options with some assertiveness is usually nice. And then you can focus on the things that matter, which is, okay, dressing well for the date, yada, yada, that sort of stuff, right? Next tip I wanted to say for first dating tips in 2022 is obviously don't run to alcohol right away, right? So a lot of guys, F boys, whatever it is these days in the online dating generation, it's, people immediately they say, well, you want to grab a drink? You want to grab a drink? And look, if this is going to go somewhere, whether it's a hookup or whether it's serious dating, there's going to be plenty of time to get drunk, right? Or there's going to be plenty of time to have a couple of drinks and be naughty and all that sort of stuff. So even if the girl does want to have a drink with you right away, even if she has 19 pictures holding like martinis and like, I just spent all my time in the clubs, even if all that is the case, it is completely fine that you suggest at the very least coffee or something, right? Because it shows that you're not immediately just thinking of what can progress after drinking and stuff. So I always say, try to suggest coffee or, watch a comedy show where they may even have drinks there or watch a play. Although a play and a comedy show, you're not going to be able to have time to talk to the person. You're just going to be staring at somebody else who's kind of doing something interesting, right? So that's probably not a great first date. But make the attention about you, so maybe, I don't know. I would just usually say coffee is always great because it shows that you're down to meet in the daytime. It shows you don't need alcohol to have a conversation. And it also, women always have their guard up because they're bombarded by men trying to get one obvious thing all day long. And so even if, he or she wants to kind of be in that zone, at least suggest coffee before you jump into alcohol right off the bat, right? Next one, first date tips for 2022. And this is a bit ironic because here I am wearing the same shirt that I wore earlier today when I recorded the last episode. But that is, of course, please iron your clothes. I think this one gets overlooked from men, especially because we can just throw on a t-shirt or our jeans. And usually after like a few hours, nobody would have noticed. But, it's a very simple thing. But I'm going to combine this with the next one, which is, women notice little details. So whether it's a watch or your shoes, you may think, oh, I bought this $5,000, not $5,000, 5,000 rupee or $500 shirt or $100 shirt. I'm sorted. No, if your belt is missing or your shoelaces are untied or your shoes are dirty or your clothes are not ironed, I've noticed that these little things kind of make a big difference. Like a little things add up to a lot of big things. And so, it can take one. I'm not saying you got to have like every hair in the right place and be manicured perfectly. I'm just saying that's something you should keep in mind. Try to do. Oh my god, I just realized my shirt, the collar is. How does this happen all the time? Anybody know how to fix your? Is this the hanger that I use or something? So on the video, if you're looking, I was just pointing at my t-shirt collar, and it's a nice shirt that I bought, and it's already looking so ragged. So maybe I should have hair clothing care tips for that. Next tip, and we're almost halfway through, so bear with me. Be okay with silence. I made a quote a long time ago, and I don't even know if it was mine, but it was like, there's nothing louder than uncomfortable silence. So it's weird, right? Like a lot of times, guys, I just on my podcast even where I'm just like What I got to talk about next? But I only do that because I'm the only one chit chatting right now. But if this was more of like a conversational podcast where I had somebody on, I would try to, let it breathe a little bit. And you should also, when you're meeting somebody for the first time, be okay to let it breathe, Some I know a lot of guys, and sometimes they're just like way too like, oh my god, what do you do? Oh wow, that's great. Oh, and they're like way too animated and way too interested in the girl, and that's fine, even if she's interested in you. But women also like a guy with a little bit of mystery, or who doesn't come across as too desperate. And I'm not saying that's you. You may be the perfect match for her, and she may be the perfect match for you. But if you, kind of don't let the conversation breathe, don't take a step back, don't leave some sort of mystery there for things to kind of unravel naturally. I know in today's ADD generation, it's a bit hard to do that, but you know, just, oh, wow, that's great. Cool. Yeah, I'm really, wow, your job sounds very exciting. She's like, yeah, it is. Then maybe she'll say something, and if she doesn't, take a sip of your water or your coffee or your drink. Or, if she really doesn't say anything, and I know in those moments, 10 seconds is a really long time. Okay, let's try 10 seconds right here. No, actually, you know what? Let me, I couldn't even do it. Let me try 10 seconds. So, hey, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I'm a social media marketing manager. Wow, that's really exciting. She's like, yeah, it really, really is. So what do you do? Like you may have been, that was the girl's voice, by the way, who realized that she's got to say something now too. So I know it can sound like a lot, but you need to be able to, you don't have to do this always, but don't try to be just talking, talking, talking. I've seen so many dates, again, as a third party observer, just go haywire because the guy's just like, it was a good looking dude, but he was just like rattling, rattling, rattling and not letting the girl, say a single thing. Uh, Lastly, not lastly, but third to last thing is be nice to your waiter, or your hostess or your host or whoever it is. Like so many times I've seen, and personally for me, even it's very unattractive when somebody is rude to customer service because that I understand sometimes you have a really bad waiter or you have really bad service or you've been waiting forever. But on a first date, you don't want to be that kind of person who's like a jerk to people who are usually, if they're waiting on you, they're a bit less, fortunate and whatnot. So I'm always I used to work in customer service. I was a cashier for a long time. So I always try to be, nice about those things. But even when I get really bad service, my wife hates it because I still like want a tip or I feel bad or, oh, they're probably having like a bad day, but that's completely fine. Just remember, like, it's okay, if these things happen. So um, try to not be a jerk and try not to be like, we've been waiting for like 4 minutes. So like, where's our drink? Like, people, it can always, you know what I mean? Like it's something that you should try not to do on a first date because it just may be very off-putting to people. Second to last thing, boys again, gents, sure, if whoever asked whoever out on the date usually should try to offer to pay, but also on a first date, it's fine if you insist or you feel like you're in a much better station in your career to like, pick up the bill or you want to be a gentleman or whatnot. But at least, ladies, at least offer. Like guys, most everyone knows about this. It's nothing new, but I've always appreciated. I've never wanted like a date today, but I've always appreciated it. And if I feel like the date's going really well, I'll kind of be like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "All right, cool." And those have been the times where there's really been hell that even happened, with my wife, where it was like, "All right, yeah, I'm not trying to like buy your time or buy your attention. Obviously, I wanted to, but it like made me more attracted to her, because then I was like, cool, like, this is a person who kind of thinks along the same lines, has the same values about the stuff that I think. Where I've seen other dates where the girl just like gets up and walks away. And then obviously that date may or may not have gone anywhere. It didn't look like it was going anywhere. But ladies, at least try to offer, and guys, don't be so hesitant to jump the gun. Try to let it again breathe and see what happens and that sort of stuff. And lastly, my last first date tip, which I hopefully also leads into a second date tip. I always think, if you're going to send a message after the date, you either got to send it right away, like, hey, let me know if you got home okay. Or 10 minutes later when she's in the Uber or the cab on the way home, be like, yeah, I had a really good time with you. that was really good. Let me know if you ever want to do it again. Or if it went horrible, it'd be like, yeah, that was nice, but I don't think this is going to work out. Don't be afraid to do that sort of stuff, right? It's quite okay. But don't do that kind of like 48-hour BS, because I know that may have worked in the pre-cell phone generation, but all of us are especially if you were on a first date and you were without your phone, not touching it for like a good hour or two. Naturally, you're going to be on your phone for the next 2-3 hours, either messaging your friends or telling other people. So when you pretend like you're not going to be checking your phone for the next 2 days, or you're not, if the date went well and you're not thinking about the other person, or at least wanted to just check in, you don't have to see them tomorrow, but at least to be like, hey, I had a really good time. I'm back next week, or I'm free next Friday. It's okay to do those things and have some sort of basic communication, right? You don't got to like start acting like you're dating, but the whole like wait 3 days or disappear for 10 days and then hit them up again, like that's a bit silly. I personally feel right now. So that's about it for this week, folks. First date tips in 2022. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll definitely put them in another podcast anytime soon. And yeah, maybe we'll make second date tips if enough people want it, or DM me or hit me up on Twitter or whatever. So I've been Sanjay Manaktala, and I will see you next week.
Birdy num num. Birdy num num. A birdie num num.
That's